Hi everyone, Rob here at the Edge Power Sports. We've got the 2025 KTM 890 Rally. Now the Rally is a little different than the standard model. So one of the big things comes with the A-kit suspension on it and a ton of extra acro goodies on it, a lot of carbon fiber bits. So really decked out on this bike. And really if it's something you want to take out and run the BDR or really just go out and really get crazy with it, this is definitely the bike to hop on. So we're going to dive into it, starting from the top. All your controls are adjustable. So angle adjustment, distance adjustment is adjustable as well. So if you do have to adjust the distance on those levers, these have a little cam gear right here. So you're just going to turn that roller gear here. That'll move that distance in and out for you. Same thing on the clutch lever as well. Now on the clutch, it is a cable operated. Some of the other models have a hydraulic clutch on it. This one actually runs the cable, so a little easier to deal with. Not much can go wrong with it other than the cable, so gives you a little more security out on the trails, I guess. So as far as brakes, front and rear brake are all hydraulic operated. Massive front brakes up on this thing. It'll give you a ton of braking power. Then ABS system, traction control is also incorporated into the system, so you can really dial all that in. Now, if we look at the forks, notice these are the A-kit cone valve front forks on this, so you really dial in the valving on it. Preload adjustment, compression, rebound. I actually have a set of A-kit forks on my Supermoto. I love these forks, so they can really bash into things and really take a good hit and just soak it right up. So phenomenal system on these. Then if we look at the skid plate, a couple of differences from the standard model. You're going to notice some carbon fiber shielding here versus the standard ABS shielding on it. So a little more decked out, actually a little lighter too, so that's pretty handy on that. As far as the tank, it is a saddle style tank on this. So some people kind of trip out, and we'll kind of get into the gauge setup. But as far as the fuel readout on the gauge, it starts out at half a tank because it's a saddle style tank. They don't have a fuel sending unit that reaches over both sides. So it'll pick up off of one side. Once that side gets down to half a tank, then you're reading off of the other side. Now, tucked inside the fuel tanks, right? This one's a little deeper down inside, but there are little fuel valves in there that you can shut the tank off on one side or the other. So if you happen to rupture a side, you can actually shut that side down and it'll just feed off of the other side. Honestly, I've never seen anybody rupture one of these. These things are pretty bulletproof on the setup on it. Now, if we look right here up on this side of the bike right here, so basically you've got your oil sight window here, a little red circle, that's just your oil level. You do always want to check the bike oil level when it's standing straight up and down. That'll give you the true aspect reading. So fuel oil fill is going to be right here. Now the bike does have multiple oil filters on it. It actually has 2 cleanable oil filters and 1 disposable oil filter. That's just a cartridge style. You chuck that one, plug a new one back in. When we get to the other side of the bike, we'll check that out and I'll show you where those at. As far as break-in period, your first 600 miles is going to be your break-in period on the engine. So during that 600 miles, really no pinning it to win it, no drag racing, that type of thing. Also try not to lug the engine, being too high of a gear and have it kind of chug and shake and bake on you. There are some recommended RPM specs in the owner's manual. We typically tell you to keep it about 75% on the throttle for about that first 600 miles. If you really have to get out of the way, just do what you need to do. Now, after that, your average oil change is going to be every 3,500 miles is what we recommend. You are going to see some literature that says you can extend your oil changes out to up to 9,500 miles. Typically, we don't set them at that because that's 9,500 miles. No one's looking at your bike. So we really recommend keeping it at that 3,500 mile range. And a lot of those extended oil change ranges are just for EPA to meet some of their stringent specs on it. So oil's cheap, engines aren't. That's how we typically look at it here. So as far as oil changes, we can set those specs up on the intervals if you are going on a longer trip. If you want us to, we can get into the system and set your oil change interval to a longer setting, but like I mentioned, we will typically set them at 3,500 unless you ask us to. Now, looking at some of the components here, you've got your rear brake reservoir right here, gives you a nice visual, lets you know if that fluid's starting to get a little dirty. And then right here, this is actually a spec sticker for your tire pressures. Really easy on this one, 35 front and rear, and then you're good to go on that. So you can adjust down a little bit for when you're going off-road, but if you ever get kind of lost in the quagmire, you've got that spec sticker to refer from. Then as far as controls here on the foot controls, just like our previous adventure models, you can change the brake pedal assembly on it. So if you want a little higher step up on this, you can remove the Torx bits, flip this over, and then rebolt it back down. That's going to give you about a good half-inch step up on that brake pedal right there, and just give you a little more adjustment for those off-road style rides. And looking back here, pretty standard affair. Got ABS system, got your ABS ring right here. Then once we get to the other side, we'll take a little deeper look at the shock. But if you notice, this does have an acro slip on it. From the factory, it will come with a standard slip-on silencer on it, and then we actually mount it up. Or if you want to mount this one up yourself, you can take it home in the foam container box and you can just slip that one on yourself. But you will get 2 silencers with this unit when it comes in. So let's take a look at the other side, gang. Now, if we look down here, the lower side of the fuel tank, you might be able to see that shiny little knob right there. That's actually one of the shutoff valves for the tank. So if we turn it all the way in, that will shut that valve off. If we turn it all the way out, that'll be turned completely on. And like I mentioned, you've got one on each side. That way, if you have an incident, maybe you rupture a tank, you can shut that side down. Then back onto the controls. Foot control on your shifter is adjustable as well. Pretty standard affair on most motorcycles. So you do have to find that nice happy medium adjustment for your foot. Basically, you've got a little 10mm nut right here, one right here. Loosen those up. That'll free that knurl rod up. Then you can fine tune adjust where you want that really set up on that. Then also kind of nice, this one actually has the extended foot pad for the side stand, so that's all factory on it. Gives you a little better footprint on there. Massive foot pegs on these things, so it's basically like sitting on a platform when you're out riding on these things too. Like I mentioned before, we wire all our bikes in to have the battery tender already wired into it. That way, if you're parking the bike, you can keep a little more juice to it. Or if you want, you can plug your electrical gear into this, charge your cell phone, whatnot as well. Now, looking back at the shock right here, notice we've got the A-kit rear shock as well, so fully adjustable. It's got high and low speed rebound and compression. And so rebound is going to be down here. High and low speed for your compression is going to be up here on this setting as well. Got full preload adjustment as well. Works out phenomenal on these. I love this A-kit rear shock on it. Works phenomenal. Now we're going to take a little look up underneath the seat here. And as far as your keys, it's going to be the same key for everything: ignition, gas cap. You do have a spare key, comes with a little scabbard on it just like so. And then this will be your key code card. If you ever lose both keys, you can bring this in and have new keys made. Basically, we send this off to KTM. They ship us back a new set for you, and then you're good to go. That way you don't have to buy a whole new lock set. So if you do pick up a KTM and you've got one of these tags, put this somewhere safe. Don't keep it on your key ring, and then you'll be all set. Now we're going to take a look up underneath the seat. Seat release is going to be right here. Let's give that a little pop. I'm going to tug up on the back seat, give it a little wiggle. Now what we're finding up underneath here, this is going to be your toolkit, just a minor one. I always joke, probably enough to get you in trouble. Then some people are curious what this big plug is. This is actually for the factory alarm, so you can get a factory alarm for the bike as well. These are going to be the intakes for the air intake system, so don't block anything off with gloves or paperwork right here. That will really starve the system. And your air filter is actually right underneath this panel right here. Just like all the other KTMs and Huskies, gases, 8mm and 30 Torx is kind of the main run for the hardware. So you've got 2 30 Torx bits right here. You're just going to zip those out. This panel will come up, and it's going to be more kind of a slice of bread style air filter that's in there. So just slip that out, you can blow it out or change that if needed, and then button it all back up. Get that toolkit stuff back in there. Now right here, it's kind of brilliant. There are some factory standard settings for your suspension. So we really encourage you to play with your suspension. But if you ever get lost in it, you can go right back to your reference spot and just start back over again. These things are designed to fiddle with. They're really designed to make it your bike and not just be riding the manufacturer's bike. Personalize it for yourself. And so if you ever get lost, you can just refer back to that. Up underneath this section right here, these are going to be your main fuses. All these are your lives right here. All these are your spares. And then you do have a fuse chart right here as well to let you know what those fuses correlate to. Underneath this cap, this will be your ABS fuses. There are micro fuses up underneath there as well. And then just like all our other bikes, you've got a main fuse and a spare fuse. This will power the entire system. So if you actually pulled that fuse out, your bike would be completely dark. So very rare I see it happen, but if you ever come out to your bike and you turn the key on and there's no power and you check your battery and it's good, it's not gonna be one of these minor fuses here. It'll be that main 30 amp fuse to the starter relay. And that's on any motorcycle out there that has electric start. Okay, so if you have to access the battery, there's two 30 Torx bits right here. Just gonna zip those out. These are the buttons for your seat anchorment. Zip those out. This will slide straight up, and then you can access your battery. There is a dongle there that we do our magic on our computer system that's tucked up underneath there as well. Should never have to worry about that. All right, and then kind of the cool thing about these little panels, there are some secret panels up underneath these rear panels. So the easiest way to get to them is you're just gonna tug right on the base of the panel here. One of those popped, one more pops, then you're gonna slide it forward, and then you've got your little hidden compartment right there. You can stick tools, whatnot in there. Then when you go to slide the panel back on, there is a receiving fork right here. It's just gonna catch on here, and this goes on top of the bodywork. So I usually pull the keys out so it's a little easier on this side. Slip that in. Everything will center. Pop, pop, just like so. And then you also have another hidden compartment up underneath this panel as well. So we're gonna put the seat on. Now basically on the seat, we're just gonna receive right into these two receiving forks right here, and these are gonna catch up on these buttons up by the battery compartment. So to start with a little nose down, get those wiggled in there, and a little pop just like that, and then you're all nice and secure. As far as keys, it is the same key for your gas cap, just like so. One thing that kind of helps out too, if on your unlock and locking procedure, and this is pretty effective on all motorcycles, put a little pressure down on the front part of it. That way it'll take some tension off the key, and then it'll just release. When you go to put it back on, same thing, put a little tension right there. That'll just take some tension off the key. All right, so get that slip back in there. Okay, so we're gonna dive into some of the other goodies on the bike. Nice TFT display on the dash, so we're gonna turn that power on. We'll see that pop up. Once that ready to race program goes away, then you're ready to fire it up. Now notice we're showing that we have a side stand. If the kill switch was off, we might see something like that as well. So we'll turn that back to the on position. But if you are seeing something like that, usually if you just hit the set arrow or the back arrow, on your controls, that will make that display go away, and then you've just got your normal screen up. So if anything is ever in the way on the screen, you just want to kind of fade out, just keep hitting your back arrow and it'll make all those little yellow little displays go off for you. As far as your switch controls right here, you do have a high and low beam switch indicator right here. So if you toggle it out, that's gonna be your high beam position. In the low beam position, you can use it as a trigger flash, kind of a get out of my way symbol. And then turn signals are manual cancel on this, so press straight into cancel, just like so. Got the big scary horn, just like so. And then your cruise control, to activate it, you actually have a little dip switch right here. Now to turn that on, you're just gonna rock that dip switch towards your hand with your thumb. Then when you see that, you'll actually see it indicated up on the dash and that little speedo symbol there. Now to set or resume or speed up or slow down, it's basically just working your rocker switch up or down. Once you find your speed, you can hit set, that's gonna hold it. Or if you've touched your brakes or maybe bumped your throttle and it disengages the cruise control, you can bump this back up and it'll resume the speed. If you wanna accelerate, you can keep tapping forward, that'll accelerate. If you wanna slow down, you can keep tapping down and that'll drop that speed down. Works beautifully, I was pretty impressed with it. Bike does have a hill hold descent as well, so if you're stopping up on those hills, it's not gonna roll back on you, so you can activate that and engage it or disengage it, whichever you prefer. Some of the other minor controls up on the switch gear here, you do have hazards, pretty standard up on this bike. And then your engine cutoff switch and your start button are all incorporated, and it is a one-touch start system. This one does have the temp code in it, so it might not fire up on us. just like so. So you don't have to hold that start button down, just give it a one press and it'll fire right back up for you. Now, if we're looking up on the gauges here, notice the fuel gauge starts at half a tank. So like I mentioned, the fuel sending unit on the tank only reads off of half the tank. So once you burn up one side of the tank, then it's gonna start reading. Just keep that in mind that you've got that half a tank left. Then you've got your clock, outside ambient temperature, oil pressure and check engine light will go off once you fire the bike up. And then estimated fuel range for that half a tank on there, and then odometer, trip meter, battery. The ABS is in road mode. Motorcycle traction control is turned on. We're gonna make this little symbol go away by hitting the back arrow. One more time on that. Then we've got our speedo here. That's just telling us our coolant temperature on our engine. What mode the power mode is on the bike is in street mode. Then you've got your neutral indicator. Traction control and ABS will go off once you start rolling about 3 to 5 miles an hour. It just has to pick up a little bit of speed sensor up on the wheel speed. Then this will be your RPM gauge here. Now, if we want to dive into the system, your set button on your switchgear is basically going to be your enter button. So basically you're going to hit that set button. That's going to bring up the main menu on your screen, and then you can scroll up or down whichever setting you want to be in. So we're on bike info right now. So once you've selected which area of the bike you want to be in, your set button, like I said, that's going to be your enter button. You're going to hit it. That's going to bring up a lot of your info here. Let's go down to service, and it's going to give us an indicator of 621 miles is our first service on the bike. So as you have the bike for a while, you can get on there, and that's going to reference how many miles you've got left on there. Now, warnings, we're probably going to see side stand and temporary lock on it. So we're going to click on it by hitting set, and side stand and temporary unlock. That's just the security transport code that is in the bike, so no one can roll off with it and without paying for the bike. So those features are in the bike, but if you're ever curious, you can get down on all this menu setup and you can find out what kind of goodies are going on. So we're going to back out of that, and we're going to scroll down to trip meters. Pretty standard affair right there. Gives you your trips, fuel consumption, average fuel range. And then we can get into our settings features here. We'll select that. Now your favorites, basically, you can set your favorites up on all this lower setting here. So whichever you decide you want to set up in that, you can basically set up whatever you decide you want to see there. Trip 1, speed, fuel consumption. So a lot of goodies you can set up in there. We'll leave that empty. Let the new client set that up. Same thing as on the 2. So if you notice, as I scroll down here, you'll see this one highlighted. So whichever you select for that favorites is going to show it in that window. So very customizable and really just making it your bike. So we're going to back out of that by hitting the back arrow on the switchgear again. Quick selector. Basically, you can set the features up to where it's either an up or a down arrow to give you that quick information up on your dash. So you can totally customize that. KTM Connect, that's your Bluetooth connections on it. Then your DRL, that's your daytime running light. That's the halo light up around the front of the headlight right there. You can turn that on or off. Then shift light, that's actually going to illuminate half your screen red when it's time to shift. Now, since the bike is new, it's not going to be available until after that first 600 miles. So if we actually click on that, it'll give you a warning letting you know that that's not going to be an option until after that first service. So just keep that in mind. That way it keeps you into that break-in period on the bike and you don't over-rev it. All right. Clock and date, pretty self-explanatory there. Then we've got our units, liters, gallons, kilometers, miles, whichever you prefer. This one's kind of fun. You can switch this up to country specific. So basically, actually we'll get on that. So if you're over in the UK, Italiano, France, Espanol. So yeah, you can really dial it up to where you're really sporting your colors on it. Heating, you have a lot of features on the heating. You can do grips, the rider seat, and the pillion seat as well. It's showing none of them are installed right now, so those are an option that you can get. I would recommend going with the factory heated grips versus some aftermarket ones. That way it'll all be incorporated into the system and you don't have some weird switchgear block up on your bars there. So on the Rally package, these are all your extra functions that you're going to have in that. You've got your motorcycle safety restraint for the braking system, your quick shifter, the connectivity, cruise control, heating. All these goodies are going to be available in the Rally package on it. And then demo mode, nothing in the demo mode because all those features come standard in the bike as well. Ride mode, pretty self-explanatory, street, rally, off-road. So you can really set up the performance of the throttle and the engine on whichever situations you so desire. Rain, obviously, is going to be a little softer on that input on the throttle input. Off-road, maybe just a little torquey, but not as spitty on it. Rally, it's going to give you a lot more run out on it because you are playing in the sand. Street, pretty standard on that. And we'll leave it in the street. Then this is all going to be your motorcycle traction control. You can turn that on or off. If you want to slide it around a little bit, you can turn that off and really get that back end to get a little shifty on you, especially if you're playing in the dirt. That helps out. And as far as your quick shifter, basically works up and down shift on it. Just keep in mind it doesn't turn the bike into an automatic putt-putt scooter. These are more of a kind of an accelerated ride. So getting on the freeway, charging hard, making a good solid lane pass, coming hot into that corner. So you can upshift or downshift without the clutch usage. And on the upshifts, basically no clutch, just stay on the gas, keep upshifting. On the downshifts, just off the gas. You can do a little tap on the shifter. It'll auto blip for you and then it'll engage that. It happens really split second, but you can definitely feel it. You can still operate the clutch lever if you have it turned on, so you don't have to stay away from it, but it is a feature that's available on the bike. Good deal. All right, gang. Well, in a nutshell, that's all the electronics on this rascal. All right, I do want to take one more look at the lower left-hand side of the bike right here, because I did want to point out the oil filters and the disposable oil filter that goes on the bike as well. So let's take a quick peek at that. So if you're doing your own service work, you definitely need to remove the skid plate on this. And the bike does have a ton of filtration system on it. These are going to be the main drains to the engine and the oil pan, but these actually have cleanable filters attached to them. And then behind this cap is going to be your disposable oil filter there. So basically you're going to chuck that filter, plug a new one back in, cap it up. The cleanable filters here, I'd recommend using something a little mild like Simple Green and hot water or Simple Green and dish soap. Dry them off after you're done cleaning them, then you can reinstall them. There's a couple O-rings on the filter assembly. If you use something caustic like carb cleaner or brake cleaner, it can actually damage those O-rings. And if you ever pull them out, they're a little misshaped, just reshape them into kind of a barrel shape and reinstall them, and then you'll be good to go on that. Good deal. Well, gang, I think in a nutshell, that kind of covers a bunch of the goodies on here. If this is something you're interested in, phenomenal bike. It'll really do all the paces that you need to. So come down and see us or look for us on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and spend some time with our sales staff or anybody in our departments. We can definitely help you out in finding anything that you need. Look forward to seeing you, gang. Have a great time.